Today, we're taking a look at the Phanteks NV7, and we're going to do a deep dive on this case, look at all the features, everything that it has to offer, and that's before I do the build video in it. So we're going to take a look at an empty case so we can see exactly what it offers, and then go from there. Let's do it. Alright, so let's get started with this new chest rig that you can see a reflection of. It's a little strange, it's like a bra for your phone. And this one here, she came with the case. She's a DLC though. She comes with the collector's edition that I just made up. Uh-oh, she's gonna cry the whole time. But let's get started. All right, NV7. So, first thing we're gonna do is gonna take a look at the rear panel because this is what I find to be the most impressive part of the case. Because where's your USBs? Where are they, right? How do you get access to it? Well, oh no. We're gonna pop this open and it's gonna swing open right here. This is what I found to be the most impressive part, because your motherboard, you know, your header, all your USB ports are going to be right over here. Your IO, IO shield will be installed right here at the motherboard, as you can imagine. And then your USB cables that you have connected, your USB-Cs, maybe your audio cables, whatever you have, Ethernet cable, you can run them down here into this bottom part here. So as you can imagine, you're coming down with these cables, it's coming into these little rivets here, and then those come right down below the bottom here. So you see you still have access to them here, even though this is closed, which leaves you with a very nice clean setup. Your power supply installs at the very top here, and those cables will run down here. I'm sure if you don't use all these, you could come side, a little horizontal with the cable from USB and then down, although you shouldn't even have to. You should be just fine to come right down here towards the bottom and have a nice clean setup. Now, they thought of everything with this because your power supply's here, right? Well, we got to connect to an outlet, right? We got to plug into an outlet to get some power. How are we going to do that with the door closed? That's not going to fit down there, right? Probably not. I mean, you could maybe squeeze it in, but you don't have to. Way down here, there's a little plastic piece that I'll pop out, and it will reveal a section here where we can run that cable out and come out the side here, right into the cable. I mean, obviously we'd be coming out the other way down the bottom. There's also a rubber grommet here if you prefer to use that. It'll come right, through the bottom as well, right to your outlet and give your build some power. All right, I'll leave that piece of plastic there. It's also a rubber grommet. I mean, sorry, not a rubber grommet. It's just a circle cut out here. Maybe you have an external liquid cooler. I know some people that kind of run those on their desk nearby. You run some tubes right into there if you wish to do so. So there is access there. This here, we have two exhaust. Well, you don't have to do exhaust, but I imagine these as exhaust. Two, with in most cases, you're going to get one exhaust fan. This I would do a dual exhaust setup. This can also be removed right here. This is kind of like, it's not a filter. It's just, it's completely open. There's unfortunately not a filter here, but in my opinion, you don't need one because the rear is generally your exhaust. So you generally don't need filters on your exhaust fans, although you could if you really choose to do so. You could take this off, install the fans, and then put it back on, kind of like a finger guard where you're not going to get yourself caught in the fans while that's running. Now, enough about the door, right? We want to see a little bit more about the internals. Up here, I already loosened these way at the top. That's to remove the very top panel of the, oh, this one's not all the way loose. The very top panel of the case, which I will take this one out, and let's slide this back. It's pretty easy to remove. 2 thumb screws, pops right out. I'm going to lay this down here, and we're going to try to take a look at the top. Very nice workspace to be able to, insert your screws right here. Get your radiator mounted or top fans. Pretty easy to do so. And of course, you have your power buttons and your RGB buttons. I'm going to swap on over to this side to show those as well. Power button, right? And then you have a bunch of different 4 of them. 4 buttons here that adjust the RGB lighting. And maybe you don't want to add RGB. You want to go RGB. Look at this chest thing. Oh my God. Maybe you want to do light on the RGB. And I'm going to show that a little bit here in just a second. I'm going to slide this panel off as well. This one's secured with 2 thumb screws on the back end right here. So you don't have to remove the top panel if you don't want to, but we're going to go ahead and do that. Excuse the mess in the kitchen, but we're going to go ahead and loosen this thumb screw and loosen this one here, and we're going to take a look at the RGB a little bit. that comes with the case. And forgive me, I am recording this solo, so we are having a little bit of difficulty trying to work with this chest rig as well as the case. So we're going to go ahead and remove this and hopefully not explode the side panel. I think we've all seen those videos too many times. We obviously don't want to do that here because I do plan to build in this case. Okay. RGB lighting runs across here horizontal, and there's one that's running vertical right here. You can certainly disable this. I'm going like an RGB light build is what I call it, light, where like I'm using the case, using a little bit on the motherboard, and that is it. That is essentially all I want to do. I want to go very light on the RGB, but you can control that through the 4 buttons at the top, and that's like speed, the mode, so, you know, stuff like that. Whatever you want to adjust. While we're here in the front, there are some things I want to talk about in the back with the with RGB, or related to RGB. Here we have at the very bottom spots for 3 fans here. I'm going to put the fan layout on the screen at some point. I'll probably do it right around now to show you the 12 fan layout. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4 at the top. So 4, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm sorry, I actually messed it up. It's 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's what it is. It's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There we go. So that's our 12 fan layout. I do plan to use 4 for the intake, 3 intake down here, 3 for exhaust at the top, 2 for exhaust at the back. I have 2 radiator setup, dual radiator setup, 1 for the CPU, 1 for the video card. That's how I envision it. The video card here, exhaust fans with the CPU radiator here, 2 exhausts at the back, and 3 intakes down at the bottom. As well as the removable fan guard back here. There's one down at the bottom. There's a little screw here, which I'm not going to remove here, but it allows you to remove it, slide it out, and install the fans easier that way. Now, in addition to that, this here, I'm not sure what you would even want to call this. It's kind of like the fan grill in a way, where your fans would be down here, right? They'd be on the inside of this. This is reversible. You can remove this, spin it around, and what it does is, because this case is slightly angled, as you can see, if you reverse this, you end up with fans that'll blow this way. It'll blow a little bit towards the glass, right? And you might be saying, well, why would I want it to blow towards the glass? Because, well, you could do a vertical GPU, and there is a vertical GPU bracket that they sell separately for this case if you wish to do that. In addition to that, I have a liquid cooler for my GPU, so I don't really need the airflow hitting the GPU as much as I need it getting around to the radiators, right? So you want it to blow kind of around the video card up to the top and cool the rest of your components. You could also obviously have it blow straight up if you'd like to do that as well. Completely up to you, but that is reversible, and it is sturdy. Just like everything in this case, this thing is sturdy. And the rest of the case is very, very, very sturdy, even with the glass panel removed, which is something you don't see in every case. You start removing parts and you end up with a flimsy case, right? So front, you can definitely remove that if you want. It's screwed in here. You can remove that if you need access to the front at all. The front ports on the front, we got a USB-C, your 3.5 millimeter audio, and 2 USB cables, and a sleepy corgi puppy. All right, moving on to the back of the case. We're gonna get to the end of our video, and we're gonna look at the very, very back. Now, let me spin this baby around a little bit and not crush the rest of the parts. And then we'll look at the last thing, the accessories that come with the case. But the most impressive part is definitely the parts we've seen already. But I would say that the this back side panel, one thing I wish they did is up here, you'll see they do have a screw. I wish that was a thumb screw. I understand why it's not, because we need it to be flat, right? We can't have a big screw like this, a big thumb screw. We need a flat screw so the thing rests at the top. So we're gonna go ahead and loosen that and remove that screw and make sure we don't lose that, which is another thing why I don't really like that, because, you know, it's an easily losable screw. Okay, so we got that panel off here. I'm going to show the back end here. So one thing, I'm going to be using this as our intake, right? they don't have an air, you know, like a filter here. They don't have a filter installed here at all for your airflow, for your intake. I went out and found a 4-fan filter here that'll fit on it and kind of do the job. This does not come with the case, but I would recommend it if you want to reduce cleaning, because that's going to blow right into the, it's going to collect dust on the front glass and the side panel pretty easily, and you'll start to see it. Don't like that. Makes cleanup harder if we don't have a filter here. They claim that this is enough. It is not. I'm telling you right now, it will pick up dust. So I'm not going to say the case is absolute perfection. I really wish this came with a filter, and I kind of wish they found a way to get like an embedded thumb screw here, kind of like they did with this, where they embedded this down a little bit and they made it a thumb screw. So kind of don't really like that, but very, very minor things. We could always pick up a filter aftermarket and get it done. Now, this is how the case comes. They have cable ties, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's also one on the back there. So they do include a nice amount of cable ties and an RGB header over here. One of the reasons I really like this is because I hate something about RGB. That is the software. The RGB software, I know we've all had our problems with the fan control software that does RGBs, and you need this RGB software for this company and that company. I'm sick of it. I'm absolutely sick of it. Really glad to see that they have a very nice header that can be controlled with the 4 buttons here. Again, like the mode, the speed, the colors. You have pretty good controls with that there. Now, this here, they have a nice little like padded spot here for your power supply. It's going to be installed from the back. You can like slide it in. You'll have access. Well, you install it here, and then you have access to the cable run out the back and connect it to our outlet, right? So pretty nice. Some nice. Now this I was kind of blown away by. Thumb screw here. We're going to just swing this on open. You have nice access to the back of your motherboard, as well as a spot for your hard drive. You want to put an SSD in the back there if you choose to do so. In addition to that, we have a thumb screw right down here that will swing open another nice little hidden compartment. As soon as I get that out of the way, 4 more hard drives. You can have in a full HDD there. Full hard drive, and then we are gonna, well, I'm gonna grab a screwdriver because I can't even get to that thumb screw. There we go. We're gonna pop that on open, and we can install our SSDs like this. You know, the screws on the bottom of your SSD, 1, 2, and then we're gonna put that right back. And that does a nice job at hiding them. It helps for cable management, makes it look like a cleaner look when you're done, a cleaner build when you're finally done and finished. And then we just secure this on back. You can also run those cables through the side here. So you'd face the, well, you can go either way, whatever you prefer, but this would run us right to the side, right to rubber grommets here. I'm going to close this, right to rubber grommets that are pretty well hidden, and it goes right through the cable ties. So they know what they're doing here. They know what they're doing for cable management. They set you up for success. You know, they sent your cables the right direction through the ties into rubber grommets right into the motherboard. So they are definitely, they're experts, right? They've done this before. They definitely know how cable management's going to be. It is very easy to end up with a very messy setup in the back, right? Very easy to do that. So I'm really happy to see that they took some care when it comes to cable management. Added a lot of grommets. Added our USB little tie downs in a way, where we put them down here, clip them on in. You can send stuff from the power supply down there as well if you choose to do so. Most of that's going to be obviously set up right through the back. You should only have your outlet, but from the power supply, you'd be feeding down here into your 3 rubber grommets into your various components as needed. And they did a really good job with that. Really impressed by that. Moving on over to the front one last time, as I did want to show this. The RGB bars, one more time, they kind of hide the grommets. There's rubber grommets right there. You can remove this and move it. So you can actually move it. They give you some accessories, which we're going to get into right now. These here, they help for covering the gaps if you don't wish to use the fans. They're magnetized, so if maybe you plan to not use the top, you can just go ahead and magnetize that right to there, and it covers it. You put 2 of them, they give you 2, and it'll cover entire fan spot if you choose to do so. They gave you additional ties, straps, which is always nice. I mean, I have a million of them, but what the heck, right? What's a million in one? Give us some extra. This is your additional RGB cable, which if you add anything to the RGB hub in the back there, that will allow you, or the RGB header, to allow you to use the buttons on there to control the RGB. Give you a nice little microfiber cloth and a GPU bracket, which is nice. It's a support bracket to hold up that GPU. Very, very nice. And a bunch of little screws and some empty spots. So, maybe you remove some stuff from the case and you throw it in there. That's pretty nice little accessory to include. Always appreciate that. One nice little touch is this very tiny rubber grommet right here in the back left. That runs down here. So if you have anything external, very rare to actually have that, but there are some components you put inside the case that has to run out to something else. So I know I probably misspoke about a couple things, but I think that was a pretty good overview of the case. You see how sturdy this thing is. It's a really well-built case. Definitely do not regret picking this up and choosing this for my next build. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick rundown of the NV7. Quick. And if you have any questions, concerns, anything you don't like, one last thing before we go. Speaking of dust filters in this case does have a dust filter at the bottom for the intake at the bottom. So use that for intake. Definitely recommend that. Pick up a filter if you want to use this for intake, and then with the two exhausts, which I prefer, top exhaust and rear exhaust, you really don't need filters, and that should do you good. So guys, any questions, concerns, anything else you want to discuss about this case, let me know in the comments. Always happy to go over anything. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video with my weird chest rig and my corgi puppy. Say bye, Winry. Say bye. Bye-bye.